Viewers, welcome to MSME Stories. This is a segment where we explore and identify what are the issues which are troubling the MSME. We are hosting this show under the two issues that have come up. One is the current anti-China sentiment that is there at the grassroots level. We need to see this in context with two other calls that our Prime Minister Modi had given. One is Atmanirbhar Bharat, and also sometime back when he had called for making India a $5 trillion economy. Today in our panel we have Rajesh Khosla, President and CEO of AGI Glasspack. It is industry which is a division of Hindustan Sanitary Ware based out of Hyderabad. And then we have Mr. G.R. Reddy, founder of Huses. It's a HR and PEO service company. It's a listed company. Both the companies are listed. Then we have Sandeep Parikhji, who's the Vice President of COSA, which is the Chamber of Small Industries Association based out of Thane, Mumbai. Welcome to you all to the show.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Small Industries Association. So the COSA is about has over 10,000 members in its grouping, and it is based out of Mumbai and looks after small-scale industries. With all the call that is going on currently, we see that there is a strong anti-China sentiment. We would start with Sandeep ji as to what is his take, what is he saying, because he has got the pulse on the ground. So Sandeep ji, आप बताइए what kind of what is the mood among MSMEs and especially among your members who are basically small-scale industry when it comes to the calls like Atmanirbhar, making India a $5 trillion economy, and the post-COVID, during the COVID, the lockdown. What's the mood? I mean, is it one of where they are ready to take on the challenge that's thrown in front of them? Or so let's start with that.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, the mood is surely sentimentally has become anti-China, more so after this COVID-19. But we must have some statistics in mind before we talk about getting Atmanirbhar. Is easily said. It's not very difficult to implement. We should know that the total imports in India, if you consider the Chinese imports on an average is 15 to 17%. Okay, I'm talking about the 97 categories from where, which are the categories we import from China. Our exports to China is 9%, which of course has tremendously increased in last 2 to 3 months as I see the figures. But now, and also that in the world production, our production is 3% of the total world production, whereas China production is 28%. It is not very easy to get to those levels very quickly. I don't say it is impossible. Now, what are the major imports items and categories which, as I see, is I'm saying above 50% of imports is the furniture items, the glass and glassware, the ceramics, the electrical items, the man-made filaments, the steel items. There are almost 10 or 12 categories where the more than 50% is imported from China compared to our total imports. Now, other reason we should know is that why we import from China. So I think there are 3 basic points. Either it is very cheap or cost effective for us, or it is available very easily and quickly. Okay, even if you give them the order, they do it so fast and give it to you. And third is that there are certain items which are not available here. Means it is something where in India, even the raw material or something else, availability is not there, the technology is not there. Now these are the 3 reasons why we have been importing from China. Now, if you ask me what is that the MSME thinks that if we want to become Atmanirbhar, I think the major role has to be played by the government. Even if you see the China as a country, the major role is played by the government, and there are few points which I think are very, very important. First thing is the availability of land, which is very scarce and expensive in our country. We've seen China, the local corporations and the local states help them so much, and they get the land at a very low rent. They don't even have to own it. There's so many places the ownership is not allowed. Second thing is the infrastructure, which includes the power, the quality of power, the availability of water, the transportations, the roads, the port facilities. These are the infrastructures which we have to concentrate. The government has to concentrate to really for you to become Atmanirbhar. Third, very important thing is the labor laws. Even if you see the wage code which has been declared yesterday for as a draft code, everything is pro-labor. Now, labor laws has to be drastically changed. If you see in China, of course, the minimum wage may be 1.5 times than our wages, but the productivity is 4 to 5 times. One person will handle 6 to 7 machines at a time. But in our country, there is no productivity, there is no efficiency compared to what China has. And why? Because the people are complacent. They cannot be thrown out because of the labor laws. It is very difficult to incentivize them. So these are the things where labor laws are most important to be changed. There should be minimum hindrance and interference from the local bodies and the governments. That is most important. And if you see, China is giving export incentives to their people. The time your material reaches the port, you get 9% to 15% in your bank account. Now, these are the export incentive which China gets. And the raw material there also, if they produce locally, they get certain concessions from the government. Now, all these things, if you see, is that even if an MSME or any industry wants to do anything in our country, these are all related to the government. And it is only the wish and the enthusiasm and the will of the government. Just by saying that we become Atmanirbhar, you don't become Atmanirbhar. There has to be a lot of work going on for this. Now, if you think that MSMEs, we are ruled by 26 laws, and out of which, if you consider only the labor laws, okay, there are about 9 labor laws: Payment of Wages Act, Bonus Act, ESIC, Provident Fund, Shop Establishment, Factory Act, Gratuity Act, and additionally in Maharashtra we have Mathadi Act. Now, how can an MSME with 9 labor laws work and produce efficiently any item wherein there is no support from the people who are working, because they are complacent that nobody can kick me out? Whatever, whether I produce 1 item in an hour or 5 items in an hour, I am here to stay permanently. So such permanency of jobs, till the time it is there, it is not possible to really come to a good productivity. If you are asking me about little bit what we know about China, where some of our members have put up the shops in China, you'll be surprised that the day they decided to set up the shop, within 6 months, the factory was running. So procurement of land, making of the building, giving the contracts, blah, 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 whatever. Within 6 months, they started, can it happen in our country? It is not possible. If you see the other, so many bureaucracies and the red tapeism and corruption and so many things in between. If you go to China, the rural industrial infrastructure and the city, the metropolitan, has the same facilities. There is no difference. You will see the same set of quality of things there. Thirdly, there the whole family works. The wife works, the ladies work. I've never seen a welder in India who is a lady. You can see ladies welding there in an engineering company. So these are the things where their productivity is very high. They have no labor laws as such, except for giving minimum wages and probably insuring them and make sure that their productivity is higher. Now, these are the things wherein we have to really think deeply and get into an industrial economy from the rural economy.
So the way Sandeepji, you have painted the picture, it looks there are too many hurdles. It's reminding me of a 110 meters hurdle race, hurdle race in Olympics. When you have to jump over multiple hurdles before you actually reach the finish line. Khoslaji would, and also I see that GR Reddy ji is smiling when you made a mention of labor, that you can't be kicked out. Rajesh ji, you are well placed to answer some of the challenges raised by Sandeep ji about labor, laws, and what have you there. So, would you like to share some of those thoughts? Your
Sure.
thoughts.
Thank you very much, Sandeep ji. And since he has already put one point of view, so I like to put it in a different point of view, so that we have a good mixture of from a 360-degree view. There are two parts in the whole thing. One is your intention, your power, and your energy, and second is your channelizing, your strategy, and the way forward. So with this anti-China feeling, you have already created a energy, you have already created an environment, you have already created an intent to do something. Now what is required is, now we have to use this energy and intent to strategize to get the rightful results in that case. Okay. Now, China is China, India is India. Let's be very clear with that, because we have a different democratic type or political type of setups. We have a different type of culture and all. Okay. Their intent was very different. Now, if we are talking Atmanirbhar, it means you are talking of how we can be self-sustained within India. What China is doing, they want to rule the world in the manufacturing sector. So I think when we compare with the China and India, I think we are talking in different platforms. So today, if I say Atmanirbhar, it means I am talking as with respect to India, I want to be self-sustained. I should not be dependent on them, because they can use different type of pressures and all. So today with the Atmanirbhar, I am not talking how I can dethrone the China in the manufacturing segment and I can start ruling but subsequently, once I become a self-sustained, probably I think the next step is then how I can be export oriented. I can start ruling the manufacturing segment and all. So this is very clear. So what people are talking, I put it in practically in three parts. One is the primary type of parameters, whether I really fit into this, then secondary, and then tertiary. I divide in three parts. Primary parameters, yes, there is a market, there are people, there is employed people, there are educated people, there are hardworking people. There is we already have some sort of a success story. I'm not saying a big success story, but okay, we are already the 5th largest economy in the world with $3.2 trillion economy. So it means the primary parameters are well within our control. So the primary parameter says, yes, we are ready, we have a intention, and we are capable to move in that direction. So these are primary parameters. Then comes the secondary parameters. The secondary parameters, then all sort of problems are there, like for a land, there is a corruption, there is no clarity, there is something like that. So this is there. Then the tertiary parameters comes, because these things have to grow with the new technologies. There are so many institutions, for example, in China, they are supporting, for example, artificial intelligence, machine learning. There are technologies, there are parks, there are some fundamental research which is going on. They are giving all those things to the industry and they implement in that, and they are always ahead of that. Okay. So that is how I divide it. Primary, there is no issue at all. Primary, everything is okay. Looks to be okay. Everything is okay. But in a secondary, I think we have to start working very, very hard. Now, let's say very typically MSME. Now, MSME are the people who have an intent of working. They can really create a value and all, but they are to be supported by a lot of things. Now, first thing is that, let's say I'm an entrepreneur, I just want to start something. First thing is, I don't know what to start. Today, when we are started talking about China, today, to be very honestly, 80% of the people have come to know just now what they are importing and what they are exporting. And what we are exporting, nothing. We are exporting iron ore, we are exporting gems, jewelry. And I think those exports are only for the sake of exports. Because they want to balance something out there, they say, okay, you go on sending it. Secondly, when I talk about China, in China economy is 14 trillion, 12 trillion, whatever it is. Okay, they are 4 times bigger than us. But if I divide this China economy because we have to divide to understand more, in 2-3 parts. One is China economy for themselves. Then is China economy for supplying to the global market. And the third part is the China economy. What they have done is they have created a glut by putting more capacities than the required, even in the global angle. So let's divide. The third part is the biggest mistake or strategic mistake they have done. Today, for example, iron and steel. Iron and steel, they are almost more than 60% or 70% of the world capacity. The world capacity, the world requirement is 1.5 billion ton, and they are already at around 900 million ton or something like that. Does the world require so much of big capacities? Okay, that is one part. So if I cut those capacities, which they are unnecessarily putting up, so probably their 12 trillion will become 8 trillion. Okay, these numbers are not right, but I'm just saying from my experience and other things. And then within that 8 trillion, probably I think if we divide in 2 parts, what they are going for export and what they want it for their domestic and nearby. So maybe 5 trillion is the economy what China is doing it. 2-3 trillion economy which they use it for global exports, and probably balance 3-4 trillion economies they are over capacity they have created. So these numbers are of course debatable and all. Now for example, the moment we become self-reliant, Atmanirbhar, so there will be a double impact on the China. Means if I increase by 1 trillion, so their 1 trillion will come down, because that 1 trillion I will be using and exporting or doing whatever. So there will be a total impact, or the gap closure will be around 2 trillion economy. Now today we have come to know, thanks to pandemic situation, because it has taught so many things. Economy is not the thing which is to be seen in isolation. You see, on the one side, the China is flexing their muscles on the borders. For what reason? Because they have a more, they think like that, they have more strong military based and defense based. How come? Because they have more economy. They are able to talk very rough languages to Australia, to Canada, to US, to UK. Because they feel that their economic power is so high, and they will be able to mismatch the things, or they will be able to downplay these countries. So the economy today is not only the economy. Economy is basically your position, political position in the world, your defense position in the world, your negotiation position in the world. And we have seen now how the WHO and all those things are being regulated, and they are being used and misused with all those things. Now we are talking so many, okay, we are talking in general. I'm talking with MSME, one more thing. I saw China, their Chinese medicine, they are trying to register with the WHO, so that in the times to come, it's a billions and billions dollar economy which is going to come up in the medicine part. Today in our Ayurveda, we don't have any system as such, and where we can really use this Ayurveda and register politically and spread to the whole world, because this is again $1 billion. It is again a MSME type of things. Again, it will agriculture and medicine manufacturing, then you have a packaging material and everything is there. So there are multiple type of products and areas where the India can really kickstart, and they can come up. And I am very sure that if we pick up those very easy, convenient areas, probably I think moving to 5 trillion is not a very big issue. It's not a very big issue. Today already we are 3.2 trillion. And going to 5 trillion is not a big issue. Okay. Now coming back to your very basic questions, can we disengage or re-engage ourselves with the China? Yes, we can do that. See, today, what we are doing, we are importing $70 billion of goods from China. Now, let us divide these $70 billion of goods from China. One part is we need it because of our infrastructure growth and all. Second part is we are just requiring, because I don't know, we are lazy and we don't have any strategy to, just say, for example, pharmaceutical ingredient, active pharmaceutical ingredient. If you ask the people, if you ask the pharma agencies, why you are not manufacturing, they have no answer, because they are getting easily, they are getting cheaply, so they are not manufacturing. And the third part is the area which is not required at all. We are just doing it. We are dumping our money, hard-earned money. For example, somebody is buying a lighting for the Diwali, somebody is buying a candle, somebody is buying some cheap toys, and somebody is buying slippers and shoes and all. For what reason? There is no reason. And unfortunately, there is no such agency which is monitoring all such things and guiding the entrepreneurs, or these agencies like small enterprise agencies and FICCI and CII, and where they are pushing them. Okay, what is this nonsense going on? Why you are importing such a things? So if I divide this 70 billion, as per my estimate, only 15 to 20 billion dollar import is required from China to sustain because we need a machinery, because we are not manufacturing, and it is not easy to start the manufacturing of machinery. So these type of 15 to 20 billion dollar of imports are okay, justified. Balance 50 billion imports are just imports. Either we are not pushing our entrepreneurs to start the manufacturing here, and balance, this is unnecessary. It is to be stopped immediately. Now, for example, I'll give you the example from my own industry. You know, this vaccine is to be manufactured or is to be stored in a vials, small vials of 5 mm or 10 mm, glass vials. There is a 45,000 tons of vials requirement in India. 15,000 is manufactured in India and 30,000 is imported from China. If you ask us why you are allowing the imports from China, I don't have any answer. Why we are not manufacturing, I don't have any answer. We are not manufacturing because we are busy with something else. Because pharmaceutical people, they have never come to us, and we have never gone to pharmaceutical. Okay, why you are importing? Why we can't do it here? So these are some of the items just to explain you that, see, if I am not manufacturing those small vials, how much of money I am just sending it to China? How many labors I am not employing? How many employments I am not doing it? How many industrialization I am not able to do it? So just see, just with the one small example, which is a live example with our own industry. Same thing with the others one. Probably I think if you ask me, I'll divide like that. Intent is perfectly okay. I think we are close to a revolution type of thing. I'm not saying a revolution, but it is close to that. Where the people have a intensity, people have intention, people want to change it. Now, I think second part is how to implement that. I think in implementation, we should divide, which is very easily can be done, very quickly can be done. Okay, which are unnecessary things, we should stop it. Which are necessary things, I think we should make an intention with the agencies like them, where they work out with the entrepreneurs and all, where they say, okay, you raise, and government should give a guarantee that the moment you are ready with your manufacturing facility, I'll give you some sort of a cover by putting an anti-dumping or a safeguard or blah, 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 anything, so that you are rightfully put up there, so that 2, 3, 4 years, we give it to you as a window to stabilize, and after that we will open up so that you are competitive in the whole world. Then probably I think we need so many agencies where they come to the entrepreneurs and they go there to the world to export and to do that. Today we are in a very good position. All of the Western world, they are looking to us. They are looking to us that we can be a good manufacturing hub. But the problem is our base is so small, we cannot feed them. Now, what type of opportunity the God is going to give to us now? I think this is the lifetime opportunity which is being put in front of us. But now, as a people, now how we have to grab it? That's a very big thing we have to do. The only problem what I see is implementations of the strategy which is there. I think a very few our politicians and all they are really able to do that. Now, if you see in India, China is investing the money. just see in a very what do you call, in a deep manner, where China is investing. China is investing all the money in India in the area where there is a distribution system. They invested in Zomato, they invested in Paytm, they invested in other applications you know very well. They invested in even big baskets. So what are these? These are all distribution channels. Why they want to invest here? Because they want to understand what is requirement of the Indian people so that they can push their products through these distribution channels. Why they are not investing in hospitals? Why they are not investing in infrastructure? Why they are not investing in the transportation? They will not invest. They will only invest where they manufacture in China and distribute here. So
That's an
we
amazing
should
point you
understand.
made. Rajeshji, that's
We
a
should
very,
understand. See,
Rajesh,
one
that's a
thing
very
is,
interesting point you make. I don't think anybody has actually looked at investments by China into the likes of Swiggy, Zomato from this angle.
why? Why?
Then I
For
don't
what reason?
even I have heard about it ever. This angle.
No, for what
Crazy.
reason they are putting the money only in these distribution channels? Now, second thing is that, okay, one part is you criticize China because you are sitting here, but see from their strategy point of view. Their strategy is they want to be a manufacturing hub, and to sell those manufacturing hub, they are doing all those activities. See, it's their strategy. Now, what shall we do if we want to become? See, one thing is, if we start manufacturing, the first 80-90% we will be consuming ourselves because we are importing a lot of product. So our market is within our country. So we don't have to look to the outside people to sell. Okay, when we will reach to the stage 2 level or stage 3 level, probably then we will start looking to the exports. Today, we are in the best of the position. We are importing. So it means that we can increase our economy by 150 billion anytime by stopping the imports. That's a thing.
Great.
Okay.
Thank you. Really,
So,
Rajeshji, you added a complete new dimension to the whole discussion, as you rightly started with. And I like the way you define Atmanirbhar, not just, I mean, the differentiation between what Chinese do and what we are doing. Not to forget, just to add to what Mr. Sandeep ji was talking about, the challenges in India. As a democracy, yes, we have our own challenges. We can't be bulldozing our way through our society's people as the Chinese do. Now let me come to G.R. Reddy. Reddy Garu, you are in the HR field, and some of the point that was brought up by Sandeep ji was about the labor challenges. What rightly he said. You can't fire a labor. I run a small factory of my own, and I know the labor challenges. I mean, especially for some, especially small industries where you have to hire on regular basis. The kind of mafia that is sitting at these hubs where you find daily wages. So, from your experience, could you add, what kind of challenges do you see when you work with your clients when it comes to labor? I know you are not typically into blue collar labor, but in general.
Yeah, I think with the COVID situation, what we are finding in the recent past is there's a cost escalation even of the labor providers, because they started actually asking a lot of companies to actually raise by 20 to 30% of the cost, which is actually very dangerous, because I think already we are in a very situation where we can't really run our operations in a smaller operation, and then again there is no sales that is happening, and you are actually taken a lot more loans than what is required, because it's over and above the loans that have been given right now. And then it will really put a lot of pressure. And with 20% increase in the labor, because they are not able to get those labors or whatever the reasons, I think these are really, really impacting, quite a bit on the ground. But at the same time, as Sandeep ji rightly, mentioned that our labor laws are created by the Britishers in a way long back, and then they are trying to repair a bit. But I think repair will never work, actually. They're trying to really stitch together some holes here and there, but I think it needs an overhauling of the entire process, where it will become much easier for people. And the third thing is that even though government will have a lot of things to talk about, but none of this communication really reaches to the MSMEs, especially MSMEs, I'm talking about, because they can't really have experts on their panel to help them, which is very difficult, and also to run on a day-to-day operations also it becomes very difficult. These are some of the things which are very, very important when you look at Atmanirbhar in terms of building your own confidence. See, where does the confidence come from? I mean, I think we are. They have. I mean, all the entrepreneurs would have started with a lot more enthusiasm and all that. I think that is only still running. It's not because of any other, probably, the concessions or laws that are really supporting, more than anything. But just imagine if we are surviving in this kind of environment around, and if there is a support given in terms of the ease of doing business in terms of the people. Sandeep ji actually mentioned very few laws only, but there are actually, if you go, each state has their own labor laws related to manufacturing, buildings, and everything, mines and everything. So if you put together, there will be around 500 different things will emerge. So that means it is very difficult to operate in those segments. That's very important from the point of view of building our confidence. While of course there's a whole lot of enthusiasm, action that is there, which I see that there is a nationalism, that you feel. It's always about not just only your ability, but also the overall environmental ability, I would say, is actually rightly there. But I think it needs to be supported primarily with the actions from the government to help these resources. Like if I give you just one simple example, there's an apprenticeship act which is there, and also there is a national apprenticeship resources that they provide. Okay, and today there are only 1,20,000 people or something who are getting some kind of leverage. But just imagine if any MSME who employs the freshers, from the college or from the school or whatever it is, if they are actually given directly to them, right now what we are doing is we are using Skill India, all skill development bodies. What is happening is there's a lot of companies have emerged only for skill development. I don't know how much is really it makes a difference, because then I saw that every college is a skill development company. I mean, how is it they are not even producing a practical approach in the college or school or whatever, and then now they are also being a skill centers. I mean, how is it possible? It is just not possible. So I think I would say somewhere there has to be a way that the same amount of money that can be spent given actually to the MSMEs. Probably it will help. So similar that kind of actions, which will directly benefit the business owner, probably will be a great help with the kind of an enthusiasm and the nationalism and the whole lot of positive anxiety that we all have right now. That's what I feel, Major.
Yeah, Garu, I would like to ask here. We also do a service called PEO, which is basically helping foreign companies set up in India. Or at least during the initial stage. During these last few months, have you found any interest or increase in the interest from foreign companies reaching out to you and asking for, at least the inquiries part of it?
Yeah, so for many of them, we provide a PEO service before they actually come into the country. So, and we have actually seen in the last February, March was a little, completely dull, which are there because I think everybody must be waiting for, what is going to happen. They would wait and watch kind of an attitude. But now from May and June, we had floods of inquiries, and we are able to kind of talk to them, and they are willing to talk. In fact, if I tell you that last year 2019, whoever would have approached, I mean, they actually lost their interest. I don't know what happened, right? Everybody gone back. But suddenly, from the April onwards, there is a whole lot of people who are actually coming back and saying that, hey, I want to leverage this, through India. Is there a possibility that you can really help? So there is definitely a whole lot of action happening. While I think the positive sign is also that because people can't travel, that's the first thing. The second is also the visa rules. In every country, they wanted to make sure that their own employees to be placed and all that. So I think there is a huge opportunity that is evolving and looking at India as an option than otherwise. I think some companies we have who have operations in China and all that, they have actually approached us to say that, hey, we are actually exploring this. Is there a way that we can do? we know that we cannot do it, overnight. But, is there something that, we can start with few people here who can start doing research, understanding about, business in India, how difficult or easy, So I think these are the ones which are really happening at this point of time, Major.
Oh, that's really nice to hear. That's music actually in many ways. That I know it would take a while for companies to move, lock, stock, barrel. But then even the very initial interest is good enough, I think, to start with. Let me come to Sandeep ji. Rajesh ji made a very interesting point. Where he very rightly said that companies are not manufacturing. Many of them probably just because they don't even know why they are not manufacturing certain products, which can be easily done. And instead of importing from China, we gave a great example of the vials, the containers for vial. The vial, the vials for vaccine. You are sitting in an organization where you have 10,000 odd members from the small scale industry. If there was a way to take this message back to your members and then explore, what kind of support you would need to be able to kind of do a check with your members as to is this something that you will want to do, start doing, checking with your members to say, is there something that they can manufacture which they're not doing it because nobody knows why they're not doing it, instead taking the easier way of importing from China?
See, majorly, if you see why people are reluctant to manufacture what is available in China, imported from China, the cost at which it comes is very difficult to match. Okay, there are MSMEs which has closed down overnight. Let me take a person who was making a measuring tape. He was selling at 12 rupees a measuring tape, okay, a 3-meter measuring tape. And from China, they started receiving at 2 rupees. Now, his cost of material is also more than 2 rupees. So there are so many industries which have closed overnight because of the cost issues. They are very, very scared to match the cost part. And as I said earlier, as here 90% of the role has to be played by the government, because today MSMEs are getting loans as at 10 and 13 and 11 and 13%, where in China they are getting anything between 4 and 6%. There is no long-term strategy from the government. There are all knee-jerk reactions. You have to put in place, as Mr. Khosla said, that we have no strategy in place. We have to see a 5-year long-term strategy, and we have to remain in a consistency. We should have consistency in our policies. Our policy keeps on changing. See what happened with the plastic material, the plastic sheets. Overnight government says that, okay, this is banned, right? Now imagine all those people into these plastics, making the plastics, they close overnight with several loans taken. So government policies are also keep on changing. People are scared to make anything here. So we have to think of, the government has to think about all these things, and knowing from all our members, I think they are all worried about how the government will behave, how the policy will remain in place, whether they'll get a cost of funds at a reasonable price, whether they will have less issues on labor, whether government will start thinking on the industrial economy and from the rural economy, and start thinking on consumer base instead of consumer base, start thinking on investment base. So that the government investment and the private sector investment has already come to a halt lately. And of course, as Mr. Reddy said, the skill development is very important, but there are no right people for the right jobs lately. And what happens is that your skill development, there are institutes which are run by the government, but the product which comes out of those institutes are no good for you. So you have to concentrate on the innovations, the skill development. If you see in China, if you want to set up a factory, you don't have to import a single machinery. Everything is available locally. For several years, they've developed this skill of making every machinery on their own, so that they don't have to import. So the innovation and the technology is, but as I see in MSMEs, now with the new norms of MSME, which latest with the investment in plant and machinery and turnover base, which has gone up to 250 crores, 99% industries in our country will be an MSME, 99%. And out of that 99%, 97% will be micro industries. Micro industries are the people who are actually catering to their customers, to the big industries as per their design, job works, etc. These are only 2 or 3 MSMEs who take this challenge of making their own product and sell in the market. And why there are not more people? Because there is a tremendous fear as to how the policies will remain and how the government will change, and the host of problems which I told you initially. If the government does not act on that, it is very, very difficult for us to even indulge in this, starting with acquisition of land. So I think it's a long story. The will, if the will of the government is first important before the will of the industrialists. So if we don't get that push, it is going to be difficult, and it is going to take a very long time to Atmanirbhar. As Mr. Khosla says, that the sentiment, it is the right time to strike the hammer. The sentiment is really anti-Chinese. So many things are imported from China. The reason is the economy. We are a developing country. Our people go for a cheaper product. They sometimes don't even see the cost effectiveness. They only see the price tag. Now, to produce at that price in our country, we really require very high volumes. We really require very high productivity, and we really require a great help from the government, including the financial cost.
So let me come to Rajesh ji. What Sandeep ji has been basically saying is it's a cost, right? It's a cost at what you produce and what it is sold at. Your company, when we visited, is one of the, has one of the state-of-art manufacturing facility, and I think you're not dependent on any import other than some specialist chemicals. And I remember the,
no, not at all, not at all,
not at all. Even the specialist chemicals you don't import.
Yes, we require some certain machineries, but we last year only we decided to move to Europe, because he rightly said, Sandeep ji, we have to see the total cost, not only this thing. Initial cost is low, but then finally you have to add on, and the productivity is low, the recurring cost is high, and production cost is high. Finally, it comes out to the same level.
So can you share from your experience, because you're not only making great quality product, which is European standards, if you can use the term. Also, you're cost effective. So can you share from your experience for other entrepreneurs, especially from the MSME world, as to how to make your product or your company competitive, not just in the cost but also quality? What are you doing?
Okay. Just before that, I like to put some important point. See, China has progressed very well. It's a 14 trillion, 12 trillion economy. The manufacturing share is almost 25-28% of the world. In spite of all that, they are at the peak of their development. Peak. And what is the head of that? China says 500 million people of China are below poverty line. 500 million, which is almost 40% of the population, and their earning is, in Indian terms, Indian rupees, it is 10,000 rupees. Now, this statement is on internet. You can check very well. In 10,000, Mr. Li, the premier of China, says they cannot even afford to have a house in a big city. Now, is it a development we are looking for, where 50% of the population, they cannot afford even a 2 days meal? So whatever development we are going to talk today, okay, intention is very clear, but whatever development path we follow, let us make sure that all the people, all the citizens of the country, they should have a very respectful and a good life in the end of the day. Now you see, what is the use of this type of development, where they are making the other countries underdeveloped? The whole Africa is under debt. The whole type of strategy is to sell the material. They are disturbing the whole world. probably I think the world will not allow a second country, whoever, whether it is India or anybody, to do such activity. Even the best of the countries in the world, like US and all, they have understood the cost of giving more advantage to any of the country who finally use those money and all those things finally to disturb the whole ecosystem of the world. So we are not going to get a chance where we can disturb the ecosystem. So it has to be very sustainable development we are going to talk. So here Atmanirbhar is very important, because whatever development we are doing, we should target our own people, that we are making their life more better and easy, rather than thinking of that I will rule the world by making the manufacturing segment. I don't think so. The world is going to allow anybody now to rule the world with their money, because we have seen in the time of pandemic, the over dependency on China, where they are not getting a mask, they are not getting ventilators, and everybody is exploiting. And today, the relationship between China and Australia, we see the China says, I am not going to get your barley, I'm not going to get something like that. The whole world is not going to allow any other country, including India.
Can you talk about from your manufacturing experience that you know?
Okay, our manufacturing. So this is very clear. Yes, there is a lot of pressure which is going to be there on all industries, including us, how to reduce the manufacturing cost. Profit is something different, but cost is something different. It is not related, because we have to reduce our cost. So one is, in our company, what we have done, we have break up the whole cost parameters and all. So one thing is, the more we dependent on outside world, it is very difficult. So everything we have indigenized locally, and then the benchmarking cost, we are doing other way. Like for example, our product is being sold anywhere in the world, let's say at X price, we take as a benchmarking cost, we break up those costs and all, and we see where we are lacking and everything, and go to the downstream part of that. We go the backward integration also, forward integration also, backward integration also. And like we are doing our own mining operations, we are doing all our indigenized, like for example, to make a colored bottles. For example, we make a colored bottles. We were dependent on USA to get the colors. But what we find, why to pay to USA for the colors? We locally developed that. And now, even in the local also, we are developing further MSME and small industries to produce those technology and all. We are helping them so that they give us at the best possible prices. So this is how the backward integration is being done. So our dependency on any of the outside. Earlier it was just a fashion, because I feel very proud. I am getting my ingredients from USA, ingredients from Europe and all. Now it is not the question of getting proud. It is question of how I can drill to, so that I should have a full control on my raw materials, everything within a country. Because that is the best thing I can regulate. Okay. And secondly, if I don't give a chance, even we are buying the machineries and parts very much. To be very honest, if I put my numbers, we are buying almost 25 crores of parts from China, or partly from China, partly from others. That now what we are doing, we are developing those people locally. I know the cost is initially high, but doesn't matter. But at the end of a day, if I put a other subjective cost, which I'm not calculating, for example, like I go to nearby, I just dictate him, he can make it on time, I don't lose a time. So many things are there. So if I add on those type of costs which are not easily recognizable, I think we will be close to match with that. And now it is our responsibility also, duty also, to develop the local vendors, so that in the times to come, if my industry, like glass industry, has to develop in a big way in India, so the whole ecosystem should be available here, no dependency on that. And we have seen that people can exploit the dependency part in the critical moments. And besides that, we are also talking to our customers, like for example, pharma customer and other customer. What do you want in next 2 years, 3 years, 4 years? Tell us what do you want. What is the price range you are looking at, so that I back calculation and do it. And third, what we have done most is we are trying to have a partnership with our customers also, even the suppliers also. Like for example, like there is a customer, I say, okay, if you think I am overcharging, or we can work together, we can join together with a small little bit of share here and there, and everything is very open to you, and you can always guide us and explain us what do you want. So there is also a miscommunication between our customers, not only in our industry, everywhere. Like Sandeep ji very rightly said, measuring tape. It was 3 rupees manufacturing here and 2 rupees coming from China. Now, in that case, if a manufacturer knows that there is a pressure and he has to come down to 2 rupees, probably he would have got 1 year or 2 years and he would have thought of. But all that bump has come all of a sudden. One fine day, he came to know everything is stopped and everything is coming from import. So the whole system got break. And to rebuild that system, it takes a lot of time and money and energy, besides reducing the cost. But if it is a slowly, I know my targets, so I can also develop. And one more important thing is, for every 1 rupee economy, if we have to increase, probably 3 rupees impact comes. Say, for example, if I have to make a measuring tape of 1 rupee, probably I need a steel also. The steel plant also has to be built up. Then there are other things also to be built up, some plastic and all to be measured. So practically you have to invest, or 3 rupees economy will grow to give you a breakup of 1 rupee of product. So it is practically 3 times. There is a labor, there are people, they are employed, they get a salary, they spend the money somewhere else. So the whole economy works like that. It is 3 times the economy works, not only 1 time. So we have to see those aspects also. Just importing the product is not important, but the whole system is very important.
So, I mean, we are coming to the end of the thing. It's almost close to an hour now. MSME is such a complex, subject that we have not even scratched the surface of it. Let me go through the, one round of last questions with all of you. G.R. Reddy Garu, you did a survey which was on MSMEs. I think it's India's first survey on MSME HR. From that survey and from your recent experience, could you share some lights on, or your thoughts on how to build the skilling, build the skilling among Indian labor?
Yeah, I think one of the thing, it starts from home, I would say. The Atmanirbharta has to start from home, because I think we have parents and, the family who don't mind actually, even if you are 20 years of age or 30 years of age, we still, hum palenge posenge, to kind of giving, that kind of a content where, the need for working, the need for actually getting back to work is very important. I think that is going to be very, very critical. And if that is not happening, just forget about, the 996 model that China works. We are never there. Probably, if we don't want to be there, we really need to be on a technology, driven and driven by the technology initiatives in the MSMEs, etc. And we found that one of the very interesting aspect for the survey is that one of the weakest link for MSMEs today in terms of the growth, in terms of changing that attitude, changing that, that the skill that is required and all, is the second line leadership. We don't find, just that MSME owner actually works very hard and, he puts in all his money and he puts in all his efforts and then, continuously try to kind of balance all the factors of their, growth. And what probably is missing is that somebody who should be sharing the load, from the business owner, from the people point of view. I'll be focusing more on people point of view, where the second line leadership is not growing the way the business has grown. So they have actually, let's say they started, I think we don't measure our people on performance. We measure our people on loyalty. And, loyalty is there, but, the loyalty comes and stops at a point that they are at a one skill level and the organization needs a 10x kind of a skill by the time. I think that is going to be the biggest killer. So today, if there is anything that we need to change, or an attitude of employee and attitude of people who are working in, how can they really, grow up? The skilling, which is more importantly, need to be broken, at that level so that they kind of improve on different skills. And I think that's the biggest challenge. And of course, while MSME owners actually manages a lot of other issues, but we found people acceptance to go beyond what their roles and responsibilities are the biggest challenge. But however, surprisingly, I noticed something, during the pandemic, because we did the survey last year end, right, in the November, December. And then when we did during the pandemic, when we actually did, there is a change. I think maybe pandemic has come to a certain level where people started looking about saving your business. So that's when I think the taking multiplicity of roles have come in, which is supposed to be the natural part of an MSME, in terms of people, which wasn't like, it's not my job, I just do my job and then just go back, service my EMI. But I think this pandemic has actually given a very good opportunity for MSMEs where the multiplicity of role is important. That is where their growth is actually dependent. Then it shook the definition of who's the manager, who's the manager who's been dealing with. I think that it is put to test. So I think it is somewhere a very good thing, but I would really see that we must leverage this movement and, take it to the next level, push that the entire ability to the next level. I think that's going to be very important from each one of us at the MSMEs level as a business owner. Push yourself, push your team, push your managers, push your second line leadership to the next level. Don't even set a very meager targets, very low this thing. Push it to the much higher level so that they actually at least catch up to a better level, and that will actually give us a lot more good foundation, I would say, before we actually chase whatever the challenges that Sandeep ji or Rajesh ji has actually mentioned, to be able to catch up with the world.
I think, G.R. Reddy Garu, you should do a similar survey for COSA also. They got 10,000 plus members. That would be of great help, either for both the entities. That brings me to use Sandeep ji. Rajesh ji made a very interesting point where he said big companies like here is helping, or trying to connect with the smaller companies and see if they can leverage their resources and expertise in, feeding into their requirement of the resources. How can, your organizations can play a role in it? Can it actually play a role?
Well, if these organizations they contact us, as many do, we do give them the references, right? But basically, what I've seen is that all these organizations are putting a lot of efforts to put their own technology and give them the innovations way to they're training their vendors and assuring of some business to them so that they also know that they survive. And as I said, that most of the big industries in our country are dependent on the vendors, MSME vendors. Very few are making, unless the item is very, very highly technological or it's a very critical. It is generally done by the MSMEs, and the organizations do approach the vendors to develop. If the organizations come in contact with us, we are an all India body. We have MSME members from all the sectors. We can only guide them as to where are the MSMEs available. As far as the Mr. Reddy said about the second line management, what has happened is that, statistically we have 6.2 crore MSMEs, and if you see on the government side, there are only 12.2 crore employment. So per se, I don't find this data very convincing, because you can't have two persons per MSME. There is definitely something drastically wrong in the data. But 10 per MSME, 99% of the micro people, they are working as a one-man show. And for them to even have a second line is probably not affordable. But as you rightly said, that you never go on thinking like all the old traders. They think of the generation to continue the same machine for 3 generations, and they don't think out of the box, and that is where the people are lagging behind. So I think the culture and the attitude of the MSME owners also has to change to really come to this stage. I mean, we had a very interesting discussion on how for the traders, how to kill the online business, how to survive during this all Amazon and other online business. And there are ways to survive and even to beat them. But then the business which comes through generations, nobody wants to change. Nobody wants to become professional. They want to sit on the chair and do the business, stay above in the building and run the shop down. That is not going to happen, and the total mentality and the thinking has to change. But I think the ease of doing business also, we have been seeing a lot of changes, but I think down the line still it is really not that ease of doing business, and lots has to be done by the government, and the confidence of people, MSMEs, will only come if there is these policies and certain things come from the government that okay, we are with you and we will stay with you. Otherwise, it is very difficult for MSMEs to expand in such scenario.
Any last words from you, in a closing statement from you, Rajesh ji?
Sir, we have been referring again and again about the ease of doing business, but let us also understand the cost of doing business, particularly MSME. If you see the cost of doing the business, there is a possibility to reduce the cost by almost 30, 35, 40%. Why is it so? If you compare with China, they have so many platforms. For example, Alibaba is a platform where you can sell your products globally. You can buy your raw material from the local sources without any intervention, without any exploitation. So MSME people, he rightly said, they are single man operator. So they don't have so much of time, energy, skill and all where they can go around. And because of that, they pay higher price. Because of that, their product becomes uncompetitive and they try to add on with the cost. So the government, particularly government and some institutions, they should try to see the cost of doing business, which is unnecessarily cost we are paying. For example, like there is a MSME and they want to buy the technology. He doesn't know from where he has to buy the technology. There is no such platform where he can use the goods as per the international level, as per the international standard. So they are not able to do that. So even supplying the labor. So there are intermediates who are exploiting. There is no such platforms which are available where they can get the material, best of the inputs, whether it is a labor or technology or input material, at the rightful price on a supply demand supply basis or whatever basis is there. So we have to create the easiness of the business as well as we have to see the cost of reducing the business. That is how the cost of China is low. It's not like that there is anything else. The material intrinsic cost is same. Intrinsic cost cannot be different between China and India, but their add-on cost which makes you uncompetitive practically. So let us see how to come close to that intrinsic cost and reduce all the add-on cost of India. So these MSME will become big companies of tomorrow. There is no doubt in that. Let's give the platform to them. And so many agencies have to work, including Startup TV.
Thank you very much. That brings me to the end of the show. I know covering all about MSME in one show is not easy and not possible. We hope to host you or bring you again on a similar show, looking into a completely different environment, or trying to explore what is the way forward for MSME in India to make India Atmanirbhar. Thank you very much. Thank you, Rajesh.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.